Welcome to Lesson 12 of Story-Based English. In this lesson, a mysterious painting appears at an auction house, and it starts to unravel a decades-old art mystery. Who painted it? Where has it been? And is it real? By the end of this lesson, you will know 10 new vocabulary words, and you will understand how to use the passive voice in perfect tenses, present perfect passive, past perfect passive, and even passive with modal verbs. This is a powerful grammar area that will make your English sound much more sophisticated. Let's begin. Okay, here is our first sentence. Listen carefully. The painting had been hidden for decades, and now it has been brought to one of the most prestigious auction houses in the world, attracting bidders from every continent. Let me read that one more time. The painting had been hidden for decades, and now it has been brought to one of the most prestigious auction houses in the world, attracting bidders from every continent. All right, this sentence already contains two passive structures. Let's break everything down. First, the word auction. An auction is an event where items are sold to the person who offers the highest price. The auctioneer describes the item. People make bids, which means they offer a price, and the highest bid wins. Famous auction houses include Sotheby's and Christie's. They sell art, antiques, jewelry, and even houses. Now, the word bidder. A bidder is a person who makes a bid at an auction. If you raise your hand or your paddle and say a price, you are a bidder. The highest bidder wins the item. Now, the grammar. This sentence has two passive structures. Let's look at both. First, the painting had been hidden for decades. This is the past perfect passive. Had been plus the past participle hidden. It tells us that before the painting appeared at the auction, someone had hidden it. We do not know who, and that is one of the powers of the passive. The focus is on the painting, not on the person who hid it. Second, it has been brought to an auction house. This is the present perfect passive. Has been plus the past participle brought. It tells us that the action of bringing the painting has happened recently, and the result is important now. The painting is here now. Both structures follow the same pattern, a form of be in the perfect tense plus the past participle. Past perfect passive, had been plus past participle. Present perfect passive, has or have been plus past participle. Why use passive here? Because we want to focus on the painting, not on the people who hid or brought it. That is the core reason for using passive voice. The painting has arrived, but where did it come from? Let's find out. Here is sentence 2. Listen. The auction house confirmed that the painting's provenance had been carefully documented, showing it had been acquired by a private collector in 1962. One more time. The auction house confirmed that the painting's provenance had been carefully documented, showing it had been acquired by a private collector in 1962. Now, our story is diving into the art world's history. First, the word provenance. Provenance is the record of ownership of a piece of art from its creation to the present day. This is incredibly important in the art world because it proves that a work is genuine and was not stolen. If a painting has good provenance, you can trace who owned it at every point in history. If the provenance has gaps, people get suspicious. Now, the word acquired. To acquire means to get or obtain something, usually through effort, money, or a formal process. If you acquire a painting, you buy it or receive it. Companies acquire other companies. Collectors acquire rare objects. Acquired is more formal than got or bought. It sounds sophisticated. Now, look at the grammar. This sentence has two more past perfect passive structures. The provenance had been documented. It had been acquired by a collector. Both use had been plus past participle, and both emphasize the object, the provenance, and the painting, not the people who did the documenting or acquiring. Notice the phrase by a private collector. In passive sentences, if you want to mention who performed the action, you use by. The painting was bought by a collector. The book was written by a famous author. But in passive voice, adding the by phrase is optional. You only include it when the doer is important or surprising. Often, the beauty of passive is that you can leave the doer out entirely. The provenance seems solid, but is everything as it appears? Let's read on. Here is sentence 3. However, an art journalist suspected fraud. She believed that the records had been falsified and that the painting might actually be a forgery. Let me read that again. However, an art journalist suspected fraud. She believed that the records had been falsified and that the painting might actually be a forgery.
The plot thickens. First, the word fraud. Fraud is the crime of deceiving someone for financial or personal gain. If you sell a fake painting and claim it is real, that is fraud. If you lie on an application to get money, that is fraud. Fraud is always intentional and always dishonest. The person committing fraud knows they are lying. Now, the word forgery. A forgery is a fake copy of something, usually a document, a painting, or a signature, made to deceive people. If someone paints a copy of a famous painting and tries to sell it as the original, that painting is a forgery. The verb is to forge. A person who creates forgeries is called a forger. Art forgery is a fascinating topic. Some forgers are so talented that their fakes have fooled experts for decades. Look at the passive structure here. The records had been falsified. Once again, past perfect passive. Someone falsified the records, but the focus is on the records, not on who did it, because we do not know yet. This is why passive voice is so powerful in mystery stories. It lets you describe what happened without revealing who did it. The lock had been broken. The money had been transferred. The evidence had been hidden. Each sentence describes a result without naming the criminal. Notice also, the painting might be a forgery. This combines a modal verb with the idea of possibility. In our next grammar point, we will see how modals work with passive voice.
Let's pause for a quick review. We have covered some powerful vocabulary and grammar. Do you remember what provenance means? Right, it is the documented history of ownership of a piece of art. And can you remember the structure of the present perfect passive? Exactly, has been or have been plus past participle. And the past perfect passive? Had been plus past participle. Both put the focus on the object, not the agent. Let's continue the mystery. Here is sentence 4. Pay close attention to this one. Experts were called in to authenticate it, and they concluded that the painting could not have been created in the period claimed. The pigments had been manufactured only after 1980. One more time. Experts were called in to authenticate it, and they concluded that the painting could not have been created in the period claimed. The pigments had been manufactured only after 1980. Now, this is the breakthrough moment, and it contains our most advanced grammar structure. First, the word authenticate. To authenticate means to prove that something is real and genuine. When experts authenticate a painting, they confirm it was really painted by the artist claimed. When you authenticate a document, you verify it is not a fake. Authentication is the noun. You authenticate your identity when you log into your bank account. You authenticate art before buying it. Now, the grammar. Look at this phrase. The painting could not have been created. This is a passive structure with a modal verb. Let me break it down. Could not have been created uses the modal could plus have been plus the past participle created. The full pattern is modal verb plus have been plus past participle. Could have been created means it was possible it was created. Could not have been created means it was impossible. Should have been checked means someone ought to have checked it. Must have been stolen means it was certainly stolen. These modal passive structures are incredibly powerful. They combine possibility, certainty, or obligation with the passive focus on the object. The email must have been sent by mistake. You are certain it was sent by mistake, and the focus is on the email. The window could have been broken by the storm. It is possible the storm broke it. This is an advanced structure, but once you understand the pattern, modal plus have been plus past participle, you can use it with any modal verb. The experts have spoken. The painting is a fake, but the story is not over yet. Here is sentence 5. This revelation shocked the art world, but it also led to a deeper truth. Beneath the forged layers, an older, genuine work had been preserved, one by a forgotten artist whose reputation has now been restored. Let me read that again. This revelation shocked the art world, but it also led to a deeper truth. Beneath the forged layers, an older, genuine work had been preserved, one by a forgotten artist whose reputation has now been restored. What a twist! The forgery was hiding something real underneath. First, the word revelation. A revelation is a surprising and important discovery or piece of information that changes the way you understand something. When something is revealed that shocks people, we call it a revelation. The discovery was a revelation. His confession was a shocking revelation. Revelations change our understanding. Now, the word restored. To restore means to bring something back to its original condition or status. You restore old buildings by repairing them. You restore art by cleaning and repairing it. And in this story, the forgotten artist's reputation has been restored, brought back to life. This sentence contains beautiful parallel passive structures. An older work had been preserved, past perfect passive. It was preserved before the discovery. Reputation has been restored, present perfect passive. The restoration is happening now as a result. Notice how the passives create a chain of events. Past action, past result, present outcome. Had been hidden, had been preserved, has been restored. Each passive builds on the last. This is why passive voice is so powerful in storytelling. It lets you create a sequence of events that flow naturally, with the focus always on the objects and outcomes rather than the people behind them.
What a beautiful discovery. Let's read the final sentence. Here is our final sentence. Listen carefully. The auctioneer announced that the painting was being withdrawn from sale and would be donated to a museum, where its true legacy could finally be appreciated by the public. One last time. The auctioneer announced that the painting was being withdrawn from sale and would be donated to a museum, where its true legacy could finally be appreciated by the public. What a perfect ending, and it is packed with passive voice. First, the word legacy. Legacy is what is left behind after something or someone is gone. A person's legacy is the impact they have on the world after their death. An artist's legacy is their body of work and influence. Legacy can also mean money or property left to someone in a will, but more often it means the lasting impact of a life or a career. Now, the grammar. This final sentence is a masterclass in choosing between active and passive voice. The painting was being withdrawn, passive, because the painting is the focus, not who withdrew it. Would be donated, passive again, because the donation matters more than the person donating. Could be appreciated by the public, passive with a modal, because the appreciation is the important outcome. Now, why not use active voice here? The auctioneer could have said, "We will withdraw the painting and donate it to a museum where the public can appreciate it." Both versions are correct, but the passive version keeps the focus on the painting's journey throughout the entire story. The painting has been hidden, has been brought, has been authenticated, had been preserved, has been restored, and will be appreciated. The painting is the hero of the story, and passive voice makes sure it stays in the spotlight. Here is the key takeaway. Use active voice when the doer is important. Use passive voice when the action or object is more important, or when you do not know or do not want to say who did it. Choosing wisely between them is what makes your English truly sophisticated. All right, now that we have broken everything down, let's listen to the entire story one more time, from beginning to end. Just listen and follow along. The painting had been hidden for decades, and now it has been brought to one of the most prestigious auction houses in the world, attracting bidders from every continent. The auction house confirmed that the painting's provenance had been carefully documented, showing it had been acquired by a private collector in 1962. However, an art journalist suspected fraud. She believed that the records had been falsified, and that the painting might actually be a forgery. Experts were called in to authenticate it, and they concluded that the painting could not have been created in the period claimed. The pigments had been manufactured only after 1980. This revelation shocked the art world, but it also led to a deeper truth. Beneath the forged layers, an older, genuine work had been preserved, one by a forgotten artist whose reputation has now been restored. The auctioneer announced that the painting was being withdrawn from sale and would be donated to a museum, where its true legacy could finally be appreciated by the public. What an incredible story of deception, discovery, and justice. And that is a wrap for this lesson. What a mystery that was. Let's look at everything you learned. Vocabulary.
You learned 10 new words: auction, bidder, provenance, acquired, fraud, forgery, authenticate, revelation, restored, and legacy. 10 powerful words from the art world. Grammar. You mastered the passive voice in perfect tenses. Present perfect passive with has been plus past participle. Past perfect passive with had been plus past participle. Passive with modal verbs like could have been and must have been. And the strategic choice between active and passive voice. You are building real sophistication in your English. Be proud of your progress. Head over to the quiz section to test yourself. And try the role play section. Report a mystery using passive voice structures. See you in the next lesson.